Hi all, welcome back. So now we've got the overview dashboard, we'll add the IV records. You've been given the starter file, so get data, Excel workbook and find where it is. Now we want to load all 5 tables, so check them all and load them in. As I say, I thought ahead on the planning, it makes sense to name them all IV, then they all end up in the one place. So we'll create a new page called IV Records and add a table with the field course name from the summary table because we're going to connect them all together. And we want the table to be 150 height by 515 width. Add the title, IV1 complete, and format paint from the previous page. We're going to make sure this one's absolutely spot on and then duplicate it and just change the fields. To add IV1 from NPA4, in the IV NPA4 table, expand the date for IV1 to show the hierarchy and just take month and day. Because we've got these formatted as dates, we've got access to the hierarchy. So in this case, we don't need year and quarter. We can just pull in what we need. Once you've added the IV1 from NPA4, close that one down, go into IV NPA5, add month and day from there, and then repeat that process for IV NPA6 and IV PDA7. As you go through them, close down the chevrons. It'll make things a lot more manageable for you. Also, to make the table take up a bit less room, we'll make use of one of the presets, Format Visual, Style Presets, and choose Condensed. Now, right click on your table, choose Copy Visuals, and then Control V to paste and do that 7 times. Spread the 8 tables out, but as per there, leave a wee space at the bottom on the right hand side because we'll use those in a wee minute. Now all we need to do is change the fields that are attached. First one, IV1, that's fine. Go to the next one. Firstly, update the title to IV2 complete. And then with it selected, go to Build Visual and one field at a time, remove IV1 month and day from each class and then replace that with IV2 month and day from each class. And by doing it that way, the IV1 will disappear from the top, IV2 will come in from underneath, and they'll all be in the right order. You'll soon get quite quick with doing all that. And once you've done that for IV2 complete, just repeat that process for IV3, 1, 2 and 3, IV6, 9 and 10. You'll notice on IV3, number 3 and IV10, you've got no hierarchy because there's no data actually in there at the moment. But once you've done that, once you've completed those IVs, that will then become the date hierarchy and you'll have access to that then. There we go. As I say, once you've actually added those dates in, once you've completed those IV records, the dates will appear in there and you'll have access to the hierarchy. Also useful to know when the respective records are due. And we've got all that in the IV summary. So that's why we've left a wee space at the bottom there. Add a new card. That's the one at the bottom with the lightning bolt on it. And stretch it out right along the bottom there. And then I'm going to add various fields. We can add multiple fields to these new cards. They're quite useful, that. From the IV summary table, add all the IV dates. Not the hierarchy, just the main dates, because we can use that. And don't worry at the moment, we can't see them. We're going to go in and fix that in a minute. So the first thing to fix is the layout. If you go into the slicer layout, make sure it's on single row, but max cards shown 8. That way you'll be able to see them all. But at the moment, the rank is too big. So next is to go into call out values, and we'll take the default 45, take that down to a size 15 on the font. And then they all fit in. Make sure it's got apply settings to all. That's the default one. And also, because the date, it shows the date, the default is earliest. So just drop each one down, rename for this visual, and take away earliest. So it just says IV1 due, IV2 due, and so on. Format paint for one of the other tables and add a title, IV due dates. You might have to resize things a wee bit to make sure everything fits. Now to use that last wee space there. Might be useful to be able to filter by course. As I say, as we use course name from the summary table, all these data sets are connected together. So in that space, go and find the slicer. It's like a little visual remote control. And add the field course name from the IV summary table. I'm going to tidy that up a wee bit. Slicer settings, the default vertical list, but it's not as user-friendly as it could be. Update that to tile, format paint, and add a title, filter by course, and then turn off the slicer header. You and I both know what a slicer is, but your user might not. So I always suggest that instead of saying course slicer, call it filter by course. It is a little bit more, less ambiguous, shall we say. And then click any of those courses, and your entire dashboard will then filter by that course. Tells you whether or not the IV records are done or not. Click it again to remove the slicer. As I say, it's just a little remote control sort of thing you've got on there. We could, if we wanted at this point as well, the same way use date diff to actually set up a little alert if one of the IV records was overdue. We're going to add an alert table in the overview page, but as per in there, the dates are all going to say they're overdue because of the data set we're using, and we're using this dynamic today bracket bracket to show today's date. For your purposes, you would just adjust the due dates. So in the overview sheet, add a table and start by adding first name, last name, and days since Moodle from NPA4. First thing to do, rename sum of days to alert, and also turn off the totals. We don't really need it. But at the moment, it's showing all the students, but we just want to show the ones that are maybe an issue. If your filters pane isn't open, open it up, and you should say an alert is already there. But if we put only show items, and I've said 50, but obviously in your case be 14, it'll only show those ones. Duplicate the table and pull the fields across for the other classes. And now you've got an alert showing all the students who haven't been on Moodle for a certain amount of time. As I say, you may find it useful to have the alerts on a separate dash. Depends how many classes you've got. You know, you do what you need. Also, as I said, we've got two separate sets of due dates, task due and Dropbox closing. But human nature, many people work to Dropbox closing rather than due dates. So we've actually got a sheet called real PIs as well. So you could either on your master spreadsheet add a column saying Dropbox closing, how many tasks are actually due there. Or you can actually create a calculated column within Power BI. I'll show you how to do that one. If you open up Transform Data, the Power Query Editor, and select the NPA4 table first, we'll just show you how to do it with this one. Add a column, choose Custom Column, and then the pop-up's going to write this DAX code in the background. Firstly, name it, NPA4 Real PIs. And the way I've worked out is task complete column divided by task due minus 1. Now, obviously, with the data we're using, if I put -2, it's all going to show as infinity because there's no data there. So if yours were Dropbox closing 2 weeks, you do -2, but that would then give us a real PIs. And this is a screenshot from our actual student progress tracker, just to show you. Just gives us a bit more accurate view on the actual running total PIs. It's worth putting this in here. Although this took a while to set up, when you get a hang of it, you can do it in 30 minutes. It's a massive, massive difference in the dropout rates. We can be on top of students straight away, and it really helps. So we've got a case study here. You might have 6 different lecturers working on HNC. if each of you had your own spreadsheet all attached to a central Power BI, then whoever's looking after the Power BI will be able to identify immediately if any students are dropping out, rather than waiting the usual 3 months for your staff meeting and have a word with everyone. Right, that'll do for just now. Have a cup of tea and we'll come back for a Q&A in a wee minute.